Hey, are you a parent that's at a crossroads with how to juggle parenting and your career? Well, learn more in today's episode. I struggle too, and we hope that you'll feel encouraged through our discussion.
Hey guys, welcome to the Something New show. I'm Mindi Linscombe, your host, and I am so excited about a special guest that flew in from Dallas, Texas today to join me in the studio. This is Mrs. Courtney Defeo.
Hey everybody.
Thanks for being here, and it's actually really fun to be on this side of the interview with you because for a career right now, your profession is currently the host of
Pardon the Mess.
And that's a very big podcast that we're all lucky to listen to every week. And I just want to say thanks for letting me interview you.
You're kind. And typically on my podcast, I'm in pajama pants because only my guest is videotaped and we only share that on social media. So I'm like, I had to actually put on some makeup this morning. So
I know you look fabulous. You look so good. I love it. And I want to tell everyone how we met and then read a little bit about you. But Courtney and I met because we both serve on a board of about 12 people on a board for a nonprofit that we love called Lighthouse Family Retreat. And we both love serving these families going through childhood cancer and making their week just a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
And getting to share about the hope of Jesus at the end of it. It's pretty cool. But it's special, Courtney, because why? Why is it so special that you and I are on the board together?
Well, is it because we're female and we're a little spicy?
Yes. There's only 3 females on the board.
That's
and
right.
It's just fun to banter a little bit.
Well, it is. And I think, the people around, I'm intimidated a little bit because a lot of these guys around there have been CEOs for 30 years, when you're coming on like, I think it's an intimidating environment wherever you go, but I loved you right from the start. And I think that females do bring a very significant voice and a skill set that is different, and both of us are valued, but it is fun to kind of just insert that every now and then. And a lot of times you and I are on Zoom and we're not in the room. And I just love you so much because you're like, unmute. And I'm like, oh Lord, here
comes
she goes.
Mindi.
It's like, hey, hold on. Why are we voting that? And it's given me courage because I think as I've been out of the corporate marketplace for some years, I've kind of pulled back on, I used to be so confident. I'm like, as you become a mom and you get like a little brain dead, you're like, do I even know what I'm talking about? So you have given me courage to be like, you do know what you're talking about. You do have God in you that's prompting you. You do have intuition and discernment. And so I'm newest member on the board. So I'm kind of just watching, but when you just unmute, I'm like, here we go.
Oh my gosh.
And it's not rude. It's not rude.
No.
It's like you ask the question that nobody else is going to ask. And I am inspired by it, and I'm going to have courage to do it. In the next meeting, I promise you, I'll ask
Well,
something.
and we'll both be in the next meeting in person.
That's right, in person.
Okay,
Yeah.
which brings me to your bio just a little
Yeah,
bit. In
sure.
our next meeting, we're going to actually be at the Chick-fil-A headquarters in Atlanta for this.
Yeah.
And that's your home grounds.
Yeah.
So I have your bio right here. I want people to know that you are most known for being a factory of ideas for families and leaders. As a former marketing professional for Chick-fil-A, Courtney has a history in creating memorable programs and products. She's the author of books called In the House, We Will Giggle, and Treasured. Courtney encourages moms everywhere and whenever possible, serving on the board at Lighthouse together with me and also for girls like you. Mm-hmm. Her most honorable mention is her husband, Ron, and their 2 wildly fun girls, Ella, who's 16, and Larson, who is 14 now, and they reside in the DFW area. So what about, and you love to consume tableside guacamole.
I love it so much.
I do too. I didn't know that about you.
I mean, and we've been in Texas like 8 years, but I don't know. Like we lived in Orlando and Atlanta, and nobody's serving up tableside guacamole like Texas. It is so good. Like one restaurant puts bacon and sun-dried tomatoes in it, and it's like, I would just eat that as my meal every day of my life. It's so good.
I just might fly in for the day.
Come on.
And we can
We'll
go to
go.
lunch for that
We'll go.
guacamole.
We'll go. Absolutely.
No, I love that so much. So when you currently, you've been working and you've been a mom and you both are very career driven, you and your husband. What was that conversation like when you decided to become a parent and still face a career?
Yeah, it was tough. And I think that I felt like I was in my sweet spot at Chick-fil-A. I was only there 6 years, but it was a life-changing experience to work for that organization, to have leaders pouring into me. They really poured into what my strengths were, where my strengths at the table. And it was so cool. And I finally felt as I was leaving that 6th year that I was in marketing training. I have woo, positivity, and communication as my top 3 strengths, according to Gallup. And the lady came in like a psychologist and was like, with those 3 at the top, you should be in front of a crowd the rest of your life. And I was like, what? Because I love it. Like, I don't get nervous. I get in front of a crowd. And I like watching light bulbs come on. I like teaching. And so they moved me, because of that test, they moved me into marketing training, where I could talk about marketing that I did, but also be in training the marketing directors around the country. And I just had like found my spot. I was like, I love this so much. And then Ron and I were married, and we knew we wanted to have kids. And then I got pregnant with Ella. And it's kind of like living all 2 lives. You're like, I knew my whole life I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. My mom was home with us. And so we had to make a tough choice, and I ended up choosing to stay home. And then I've done projects and consulting and just kind of done things on the side. But it was hard. I tell people it was like cutting my right arm off, because I really was in a sweet spot at Chick-fil-A. But I have been able to go back and consult. I'm still friends with everybody I worked there. And I can see the pieces of what God taught me there in my own small business as I've created products and written books. Like, I'm pulling from that experience and the way I run my own business and ministry. And so it wasn't for nothing, but I will tell moms that are conflicted, there's no right choice. It's like, it's personal and it's seasonal. So in this season with this age kids, what is God asking you to do? And it's very personal, because what would work for you, Mindi, is not the right answer for me, and vice versa. And so I think as moms, we want like a formula to say, when they are 2 and 4, you go home.
This is what you do.
This is what you do. And it's like, no, I feel like I've had 9 lives, like a cat. Like, I've had so many different lanes and jobs, and it's a mystery now. I'm like, Lord, what's next? Oh, I'm a podcast host. Okay, cool. So I don't know how long that one's going to be, but it's really, so I would just go back to women that are in that season to go, it is hard. It's hard because there's lots of choices out there. But like, I think you beautifully say you can do both, but you can't do both 100% all the time in every season. Like, you're going to have to just ebb and flow and just lean on where your heart's telling you, like, I think I'm supposed to pull back, or I think I'm supposed to go more into my career. And it's hard. It's really hard.
And let's talk about the fact that your husband also is pretty career driven.
Yeah.
So I always explain it to people, like, there's sometimes I felt like Jordan's advancement, it was like he was like gas on and I was more on the pedals, like braking on mine. And then there was other seasons where it was like, it was all me, where I was going hardcore and he was kind of like pausing on his advancement. Mm-hmm. Did you ever feel like that dance between both of you guys, like having sometimes you went forward, sometimes you waited?
Yeah, if I'm honest, I will say I think he's been gas on our entire marriage for 20 years, and I have applied the pedals because I want to. Like, I just feel like where his career was leading him, he's now a CMO of a major company, and so it was just supposed to be. And so I've told someone, like a stallion or a horse behind a gate, in those races when they open the door, I said, you better be ready, because when these girls graduate, I'm going to be like this wild horse that's like ready. I may never see you again. I'm out. But he's never required it, or it's been a decision we've made together. And he's been so supportive. Like, when I launch a book or I go on a book tour, he's incredibly supportive. He's there for the girls. And so, I think it's a little of both. It's a dance, but for the most part, I've been holding back until they graduate, and then I'll probably bust out.
Well, if this is your state of being held back, I can't even imagine what's going to be like when they graduate. Like, I'm like, if this is what you can produce, you've written books and some of these resources that I can't wait to talk about. I'm like, if you've been doing that as a like part-time employee person, what I'm saying? Like, I can't even imagine what you're full.
Well, I'm kind of, I hit extremes, and I'm not advising this, but I'm either like all in bonkers, like I'm going to create a company by Tuesday, and it's all I can think about, or I'll just pull back and go like sloth. I'm on the couch and watching Netflix. And so I have trouble really over the years trying to discern, like, how do you do both well? And I think that's the point of your podcast, is helping people understand, like, you are a mom and you are a parent, but you also have this job. And so it's a challenging dance. But all I can say for me is I've discerned when it's time to pull back. There's sometimes I've gone too much and everybody suffered, and I'm not enjoying any of it, and I'm not present for any of it. So I know I'm talking all around it. I just want people to know that it's tricky. It is
tricky. And I love that you said it's personal. What were the 2 things you said?
Personal and seasonal.
It's personal and seasonal. Mm-hmm. That's so true. And I also think having a partner that can recognize it's personal and seasonal.
Yeah.
Like, you both just have to be on the same team and say, hey, you have these strengths and skill sets, and we don't want them to be dormant, but at the same time, maybe this is seasonal.
Right.
And then they'll come back like the stallion.
Even Ron's with an airline, and even the fact that He was recruited by a lot of people, but then he was like, okay, if I'm at this job, then you can actually fly anywhere you want and even take the kids. And so that was so sweet to be able to go, I can go speak somewhere across the country. I can come to Colorado for a night and I can easily take my girls. And so I've seen little winks over time that's like, I can still do what I love to do because of his work. So
he's chosen also to take a path that is supportive to your dreams as well.
For sure.
That's so good.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Okay, so when you talk about like family resources, I think that I'd love to talk about some of the things you've done with your kids to be intentional about their relationship with God, their relationship with their family, their relationship with their friends. And I mean, you've even written about it. So tell us some of the resources, but also some of the things that you found to be super helpful in that, because you have teens. So you've done the early and now you're in teens and already looking at colleges. I mean, this morning at breakfast, we're talking about in 2 years, maybe not even 2, 1 year.
I know. It's insane. I think when they were babies or even before they were babies, I had like the Pottery Barn catalog. I was like, their room is going to be so cute and they're going to be pastors or ministers and they're going to change the world. And then you actually have children and you're like, oh my word. Like, I hope they don't go to jail. Like, I hope, like it becomes real. And so I think when they were little, my heart was that faith would be a very real part of their life. Like when we did their top 5 values as a family, when they were dedicated, we wrote down, our pastor had us write down, like, what are the things you're going to focus on? And faith was up there. And so we thought, what does that look like practically in the home? You can go to church every Sunday, but what does it look like Monday through Friday? Is it a priority in your own life? And so the marketing girl that I am, I'm like, well, what are we doing? What are the programs? Because I had people fall in love with Chick-fil-A. That was my job in creative services, was be so creative that people fell in love with Chick-fil-A. Like just.
Well, and you were there the day that, tell the story. What happened?
Yes,
you were at Chick-fil-A.
I just said my pleasure and they laughed. And I'm like, it's ingrained in me because we were at a corporate meeting. And I hope I get this right. Somebody from Chick-fil-A check me. But we were at a corporate meeting, like the annual meeting. And Truett Cathy was our founder. He's since gone to heaven, but he's incredible. And he got up and was like giving his update. And you never know what he was going to say. It was just like, I got to tell you about this orange grove I bought. I mean, like he just had the mic and would just go. So we're like, we couldn't wait to hear what he wanted to say. And he was like, by the way, we are now saying my pleasure. Like if anyone says thank you, the response from anywhere, staff to every store, is my pleasure. And we were like, okay, yes, sir. Like whatever we do. And in the first few months, it was like he would check people. Like if he went through the drive-through and, he wanted to hear it. And it was awkward at first. And then it became part of the culture. And it really does change. And I still say it because if you have someone say, you get me extra ketchup? Thank you. My pleasure is different than like, yeah, whatever, no problem. You're welcome. Like there's just no emotion in it. And so I loved watching him instill culture. And
today, you just right before the podcast, you said my pleasure. Yeah. And I was like, well, there it is.
It's still there.
It's still there. Okay. So sorry, back to your core values. You're saying faith and you're just, your job.
Well, the creative in me was like, if I can focus on having people fall in love with Chick-fil-A, and I'm bent towards creative and production and thinking, how do you communicate things in a way that stick? I just thought, as I'm home with these girls, how can I communicate and instill faith and honesty and integrity and all those virtues in a way that they will fall in love with Jesus? And I thought, if this comes naturally to me, what are some ways I can do that with my kids, and then other families can benefit from it? So there's a ton of things I do terribly. Like I cannot cook at all. Nobody's coming to me for a recipe. I'm very disorganized, but I do know that I can see things in a way that I can communicate them. I'm a marketer. You know what I mean? Like that's my job, is to communicate things in a way that changes lives. So it made me super excited that I went to church and I was mourning kind of that stay-at-home role. And God really pressed on me, like, take all of your life and use it for my glory. And I thought, all of my life is not just my home, it's my time, it's my energy, it's my money. And it's my talent. It's like, how do you take my brain that's kind of like ADD and spastic at times, but I'm pretty creative. And so I started coming up with products and resources and a blog back when the days were blog. And it was helping me, I don't know, just keep that part of me alive. You know what I mean? Because I think motherhood is incredible and worth every penny. And not worth every penny. Let's change that. I think motherhood is so valuable and so important. If I had never done anything but change diapers and hug them and put them to bed and tell them I love them. But there was a part of me still spinning that was like,
you knew you had this gift.
Yeah. It was like having a brainstorm consistently in your own head. You're like, what if we did this? So it was fun to just try it. And Ron was really gracious. I will say another thing is that we were financially stable with his job. And so some people are like, well, that's nice for you. It's like, but he did give me like room for us to go, like, let's play a little bit with your side hustle in a way that's not, the whole goal was to make $1 million. Like my whole goal was to influence people, get scripture in their hearts, equip families. And it was so fun.
So that first product is what?
It's called ABC Scripture Cards. It was back in 2011 11, I think. And it was just very simple. How do you merge like Pottery Barn and that kind of culture with really cheesy Christian stuff? Like if at the time you went into Lifeway, you're like, wow, this is bad. Like it's saying the right things, but I don't want to put that up in my house. Like, and that's superficial, but it's true. Like if I had put some of the products that had scripture on it in my home, I would have probably put it away and hid it in the closet if somebody came over. And so I was like, is there a way to keep scripture out? Is there a verse for every letter of the alphabet that looks cool and it sits in my kitchen?
It's beautiful.
With a little candle. This easel is not so cool. I wish we do acrylic. But it worked. And people started memorizing scripture with their kids. I started using it, and then it just imploded. And I don't know what the point is now. There's probably 30 or 40,000 of them out in the world. And they're still going. And it's so fun. But so here's a perfect example. So it took off. We were on The View. Lisa Turker sold them. Like it was exploding. And I have 2 little kids. They're like 2 and 5. And I thought, I will implode. I'm the least organized person. If I have to get Karen in San Diego order and write a note on it, I was drowning. And so I knew the product worked, but financially we did not need to be the main carrier of that product. So I went on a research thing and partnered with a company that now they manufacture them. They send me a tiny check every month for whatever, but they're getting out in the world, and I don't even touch them anymore. Like they're at market, stores order them.
Because you decided it wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth it for me. And again, that's so personal. I thought I was high capacity, but something when I had kids was like, that is more than I can manage. And I knew it. And so that is a way to keep something going.
But how savvy of you to say, but maybe this could still be something I could have royalties on. Yeah. But somebody else can take it from here.
Yeah. And it's been really cool. I'll still see them in stores. I'll be out in a random city and I'm like, oh my goodness, there they are. But it's been really cool to watch. Like I was with your daughter this morning and just show them that like you can hide God's word in your heart. Just a few of them that you'll remember at night, like H's, he cares for you. Like you can be scared to go to bed or scared of a person at school. And those little God's truth will bubble up in their hearts.
We're going to do them.
Yeah. And us as parents too. It's like my mentor helped me write them. And I told her, I'm like, I don't want all the like, I wanted them to know the full range of God's word. Like it's not all instructional. It's not all D, do everything without complaining and arguing. It's like J, Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. I want them to have the encouragement of what God's word does, some instructional, some of the rules we would say, and then just truth, like help me parent. So they were hitting each other with Barbies, literally. And I was like, guys, stop. And then I popped in my head the B word, be kind and compassionate. And so I asked them to recite it, and they did. And so it helps me parent in a way that was scriptural. And I wouldn't have been able to do that before. Like I memorized them as we went too. Yeah. And I'll close here with scripture. I don't want people to think you will have a good Christian kid if they know this many verses. Like it's less about the gold star and they can recite it. It's more about the gap between their head and their heart. We can all know Jesus all day long, but if we haven't experienced him in my heart, and so that's a lot of what the book is in this house, we will giggle. We go through how to like take, everyday experiences and have them experience Jesus versus just know all the language and be like these little, I say like the Von Trapp family, like on Sound of Music, like they march along, they do all the right moves, but they're missing that heart piece of falling in love with Jesus. And so that's been my goal.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. It's showtime!
It's no secret by now that Something New is a special place where we believe life is worth celebrating. We come here every day to make sure people feel loved, welcomed, and brought into an experience of a lifetime. You'll see friendly faces, gorgeous gowns, a well-lit showroom to highlight everyone's natural beauty, and strangers becoming friends. It's a wonderful thing to shop somewhere that listens to you and makes you feel like you're the only one that matters in this most beautiful moment of your life. We'd love to have you and your friends find your dress and become a part of the Something New family.
I love it. And that was more from your Giggle book, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, so I could just hear you talk about this all day.
You're sweet.
No, I'm serious. I'm like, I feel like we have a mixture of the elementary and the teen. So, we could all benefit from making that connection just even more intentionally every day. So I love it. So then I was going to ask you a little bit about moms and friendship, because I imagine that you're like me, where seasons have come and gone too.
For sure.
With you've had to move, you've had career heavy seasons, you've had career light seasons. I just would love for you to give some encouragement and some advice to moms and wives of, both kind of going for it couples, what are some friendship recommendations? Because I even think about our friendship, Courtney, and how we didn't even know each other 2 years ago.
That's right.
You know, and then, you know, we were both kind of doing our thing. For me, I always say, do the thing you're really called to, and then look to your left and your right and see who's there. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on friendship.
Yeah, man, we could go all day on that. And I'm doing what I wish my guests wouldn't do, is talk for like 8 minutes in between questions. So I'm going to try to be.
No, I love it.
You're like interviewing someone. You're like, if you could wrap that point up, then we could get to the next question.
No, this is really the one I wanted to dive in on friendship, because man, it can be so
it's tricky.
Like you had to fly from Dallas to spend 24 hours with me.
Yeah, but I'm in your home, and it's so
we're
great.
Can catch up and all that. But I'm like, I just appreciate, and I was thinking about it all morning, how intentional it was on your part to make the time.
Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you.
Of course. I love what you're doing. The operation that is Mindi and Jordan and all the things something is incredible. I will share a big mistake I made. So I had a best friend in Atlanta. So we went from Atlanta with little babies to Orlando for 4 years, then to Texas. We've been there 8. And at some level, I was like, I'm really friendly. I have a ton of friends. And I'm like, I don't need any more friends, you know? And I had a really good best friend that we did those baby years together. So like, if she's going to Costco, I'm going to Costco. We did like Costco, Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, Target. We just did like this every day. Keep us alive, keep us sane thing. But I realized I put all of my expectations and needs on her as a friend. She was my best friend, and we still are very close. But it was through a couple bumps that I realized that is unfair to expect her to be like my publicist, to expect her to know every single thing that's going on with my book and my speaking tour, to even be Ron at some levels. I was going to her for things I should be going to my husband with, and even things that I should be going to Jesus with. And so I say all that to go, the friendship kind of imploded at some level, and I was really humbled going, I'm putting too much like expectations on her. And so my suggestion to you was, I realized that there's friends in every lane. You may have a friend that is a CEO, and y'all can speak a language because y'all are CEOs. You know what I mean? You may have a friend that's a mom of a football player, and y'all can speak the same language because you have sons. And so I started kind of widening my circle to go, one person cannot carry the weight of who Courtney needs.
All your things.
They can't. And it was unfair to her. Like, she doesn't write books. She's not in this space. But now I have a couple author friends that I can go to and squeal and delight and say, I was on this show, or, oh my gosh, my book did this. And they're so safe that it's not bragging. You can just celebrate. But then you can also call and be like, I think I'm a failure. Should I even do this again? You know, so I think I would say widen your circle and not put pressure on one person. I would also say, if you're a follower of Jesus, that you surround yourself with friends that will point you back to him and say, culture wants you to have 1 bazillion Facebook followers and Instagram and have your hair perfectly curled and your makeup amazing. But like, who are the people that are going to draw you back to what actually matters in 10 years? To be like, I'm so excited about that opportunity, but is this the best thing for you and Ron? I also have a counselor. My counselor has taken the weight off of some of my friends. So I just think social media has also really screwed us up to think that the moms I talk to every day are like, I'm not good enough. I'm the worst mom for my kid. I can't do all these things. And they're listening to that culture, social media, basically. They're getting blips of people's highlights, and they're looking in the mirror thinking, I'm just dropping the ball. So that's a long thought, just to...
Yeah, no, I mean, when you think about the mom thing, I just want to mention something there, is that you can't be amazing at everything. And so I like to tell people, guess what? I don't make my kids lunches. And that like shocks people sometimes. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I don't really even provide breakfast for them. I let them know where everything is at in the kitchen, because I'm still also prepping, because when I bring them to school, which I've committed to do, that is also when I go straight from there to a big meeting or something like that. So I am mentally preparing in the morning as well for my day. Yeah. And so there's this myth that we have to do all the things perfectly, like you said, mainly probably because of what we see on Instagram of these beautiful curated lunchbox plans. And I mean, it's a lot of visual stimulation.
That's right.
On what and it's more images than I think we were intended to handle.
That's right.
So I'm like, okay, moms need to hear you cannot do everything. So maybe you're great at making lunches and that's your thing. Awesome. For me, that's been something I let go. I thought I had to do that. I thought I had to do breastfeeding. I let that go. You know, I thought I had to do so many things a certain way, or I wouldn't be like the best mom. But you know what? I have great relationships with my kids, Courtney. Like I actually feel connected to their hearts.
Yeah.
I love them. I feel like they could tell me anything.
Yep.
And that matters to me more than all the perfect lunches.
You have great kids.
So they can eat the cafeteria food. I'm like,
sure. Mine
we
do too.
grew up on it. Like we grew up on it. And so yes, do I prefer organic? And yes, am I a health conscious person? Absolutely. But I'm also having to choose what I let go and what I focus on, because I'd much rather be emotionally connected to them when I pick them up from school than did they eat the right thing today at lunch, you know? So I do think there needs to be a let go of some of that pressure.
Yeah.
What were we going to say?
I was going to say, if you and I were in the same city and I knew you were in this studio in this beautiful shop every day and we are good friends and we know each other, I would say, please let me get her. Like I am home most of the day. I do record podcasts, but I am very flexible. And I've had to kind of pull my friends at work full time out of the home to say, you do not owe me anything. Like I am already driving to cheer. Please let me grab your child. And there's this guilt that's like, no. They show up differently. Like I can be the cheer mom coach and physically present, and they Venmo me like $200 to go get, you know what I mean? Like I'll go get the snacks. But I think that pressure on especially moms that work outside of the home is too intense, that they have to do the same as someone that's more flexible. And so I would say you'll start to know your good friends when you know that you can call them at 8 a.m. in the morning and say, can you run by my house? And they're like, totally. What else do you need? Or can you grab me a rotisserie chicken at Costco? You're already going there. Like that's a good indication that you have a friend that's not keeping score, that we are there for each other, that we could call each other like crying and say, I can't tell you anything, but can you go get Bear? You know? Yep. So look for those people and just embrace that and let the guilt go, because I think we need to be there for each other. For sure.
And I love that you said, and maybe it shows up in a different way. Like I can think of people that can show up in a way for me that maybe are different than a working mom could. Right. So I think it's just being so aware and others focused, right? Yeah. It's back to being like, hey, like taking a look at their life. Okay, what does that look like? Wow, that must be really hard for them. It's different. Even though it looks like they carry it well, they might actually have a lot on their plate.
Correct.
And a lot of pressure. So let me circle around the wagon a little bit and be like, what might be helpful? Because
that's right.
Me getting you a rotisserie chicken doesn't mean anything.
Right.
But you getting me one would be like, whoo,
exactly.
I don't have to think about dinner. You know, like I'm just saying it's just being mindful. Like for you, it might be totally different as, like you said, you have more time. So it's like, oh, maybe I love that working moms too sometimes can just, my favorite thing is to meet the classroom mom at the beginning of the year and just say, can I write you a check for all the things that like would be my contribution from here to the end of the year, and just like done. So Valentine's Day party, Christmas party, all the things, teacher presents. And she's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. And you know what? I'll put a little extra in case another mom doesn't get. And then, but that's like such a blessing for me because I don't have the time to think of the craft.
That's right.
For the Easter party or whatever. I just don't. This episode is sponsored by Something Blue 30A. Looking for the perfect vacation spot to disconnect from everything, put your feet in the softest sand, and enjoy a fresh, renovated 2-bedroom, 2.5-bath townhouse right on the beach in my favorite place in the world? Well, 30A is situated in the panhandle of Florida, and I'd love for you to check out Something Blue 30A on Instagram and make it the perfect place for your next vacation. But I think that's being mindful, you know?
Yeah, my friend Kristen, she has 4 kids. They're all grown. But I remember in elementary school, she said, I told each of them I do 1 field trip a year. And I'm like, what? You can do that? Like I go to every field trip. And I put this expectation on myself that I'm so present that I was like, oh my word. And her kids survived, when you know it. And they love her and they graduated and they're successful humans and their mom went to 1 field trip a year. And so I think somehow we get this thing that says more time, more presence makes us a better mom or makes our kids better. And it's okay. It's okay. So I was like, that was the first time I'm like,
well, and
you can say no
I
to
would
your
say
kid.
like, you know, what's been really cool is I actually check in with them and I say, does it matter to you if I'm at this?
Yeah.
Because one of my kids is like, I don't care if you're at the Valentine's Day party.
Right.
I'd rather you be like, take me out on a date one-on-one. I'm like, okay. Like, you know, even if we just went to the grocery store together, like one-on-one time when you have a lot of kids is precious. And so I just like to also check in with each kid because just because that Valentine's Day party meant something to one, I was surprised this year. 2 of them were like, no, please don't come. I was like, okay. I was like, noted. But I think that's really cool too. Just to ask your kids, like, is this important to you?
Yeah, that's a great
be there if it is, and if it's not.
Yeah.
No,
Larson told me, please stop coming to my soccer games because she does better when I'm not there. I'm like, what the heck? Like, I'm not like this intense soccer mom, but she literally, it's like the weirdest thing. When I don't go, they put her into play and she'll like play amazing. And so I'm like, well, that's rude. But I still go to some of them. But she's not, but you're right. Like knowing what means the most to them. It's not like that love language thing. It's like,
you know how many times we put pressure on ourselves because of what we thought our parents should have done or we see our friends doing or now Instagram, you know. And so I want people to hear this today and say, okay, actually ask your friend what would be a really good way to show up. It might be the FaceTime, you know, like I just read this thing this week and it was on social media, but it was about how we just need 8 minutes.
I saw that.
Of connectivity.
Was it Simon Sinek?
Yes, I love him. And so I was thinking, you know, it might just be a great way to tell a friend 8 minutes in a text. Like and that's like a red flag. Like I just need 8 minutes.
It's awesome.
To be there. And
awesome.
And can I tell you, Courtney, I can give you 8 minutes.
Yes.
I can do that. And if somebody wants to read more about that, it's so fascinating. But it's just basically saying that's how much connectivity we need when we're having to emotionally carry something. And I thought that was powerful. But I really do think it's checking in with your friends, checking in with your spouse, checking in with your kids. What do you need instead of just like assuming that you need to be at that?
Yeah. I want to tell you one more fast story. So my friend Mandy Savage is a 5th grade teacher. She's in Larson's group of friends. Okay. So her friend, anyway, her child is Larson's friend. So she's working all the time. Like she gets home at 4:30. She's, you know, she doesn't have a lot, but I'm able to be, like I said, the fun mom that picks them up and takes them somewhere or spend the night party. But she desires that, but she does not have the time. So she came up with the greatest tradition on a whim. Riley was having a medical thing and they were trying to like kill time. She went and got all 5 of the friends, like a big loop around the city. She had like a disco ball and music and they blared music and they had like a theme. The first time they all wore sunglasses and they thought it was the coolest thing. Then she got them ice cream, dropped them all back off and they just thought it was amazing. So she was like, they loved this. It was an hour of my time, picked them all up on a random Thursday, got them ice cream, put them home. So she did it again at Christmas. She was like, the theme is Christmas. They get in the car, she picks each one of them up, they go to thing. But I was like, Mandy, this is like a once a quarter thing. They love it. But she's not every week. She's not the mom you're coming home every day. She's exhausted as a teacher on a Friday. They're coming to my house for the sleepover. But it just showed me like you can still weave in things, but it cannot be the same. Like it's just going to be different for your time, for what you can handle, what's going on in your family. And I just couldn't wait to encourage her. I'm like, they love it. They love it. They can't wait for the next one.
I love
it. It was
that
an hour.
So
Isn't that
much.
fun?
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, Courtney. I know people are going to want to hear more and more of you. So where can they find you if you are out there? I know you're on the podcast, Pardon the Mess.
Pardon the Mess. Yes.
But other places they can find you.
Yeah. You never know what I'll be doing next week. But right now, Courtney Defeo on Instagram. I'm there occasionally. And then Pardon the Mess has its own, Instagram as well. I've got a site, CourtneyDefeo.com, but my main goal is just to encourage you and equip you with being intentional with your families and hoping just something I say makes you feel normal and remind you that these times with these kids matter. It's not all on you. Jesus is sovereign and he has them, but you really can be a pretty cool guidance to loving on them. And your kids are great, Mindy. I can tell how much you've just shown up for them and loved them. They're so awesome.
Well, I'm glad that they all got to meet today.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. Little arranged marriage,
so
perhaps.
Oh, there you go. I mean, I'm not going to complain.
I mean, you never know.
Wouldn't that be bad? Okay, let's bring out your favorite drink. Okay, so tell us what this is.
Okay, I've had this a couple times. It is called the Cherry Slush Alani Energy Drink. Now, I'm a Coca-Cola girl at heart, and this has way too much sugar, but I just love it. It's like a cherry slush.
It doesn't look like it has a lot of sugar.
It's got a ton. So
really?
I'm not, let's see.
Look at this. 0 sugar, 3 carbs, 10 calories.
Wait.
This doesn't have a lot of sugar.
Okay,
200 milligrams of caffeine.
Maybe it's the caffeine.
This is a lot of caffeine.
Okay, it's the caffeine, because my friend was like, hey, you with headaches, you can't handle that much.
Okay, 200 milligrams of caffeine.
Okay, it's the caffeine.
Okay, cheers.
So, like, if we drink this whole thing, we're going to be up till, like, 3 a.m. having hot sweats. Hashtag perimenopausal.
Perimenopausal. Here we go.
But it tastes good. Cheers.
Cheers. I'm going to try this out. Ooh, it does taste like a cherry. This tastes like Coke.
I know.
Tastes like cherry Coke.
You're welcome.
How is this really a thing? I might have to buy these.
I know.
This might be my favorite drink of selection on the show.
When you don't go to bed for like 4 days, it's because of this.
Do you know what I'm going to do?
Do tell.
I'm going to drink this.
Okay.
I'm going to get on a flight with you somewhere that's a 12-hour long flight.
Oh, there we go.
And I'm going to write my book.
Okay, you are writing a book. I can't wait.
No, but like you write your next book. We'll just sit side by side.
Let's do it.
Because we'll have no texting going ding, 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 ding. We won't have communication with the world. We'll be in a tube in the air.
I love it.
Flying across an ocean somewhere.
Okay, can I affirm you really quick? I'm so glad I got to come here. Like, I've watched you and seen you in meetings, and I'm like perusing Instagram, going like, she's smart. This whole thing is brilliant. Like the little personal touches, like at Chick-fil-A, I think one of the best things they do is just the way they see people and they love on people. Like it's more than just a chicken sandwich. And that's what happened. I watched you on a Saturday full of brides all through this place, and just watching you was really, really fun. So you're incredibly smart. So is your husband, and y'all got quite the operation going here.
Thank you. Well, it was fun to shop with your girls too.
Yes.
Like that was really special. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just really special to make other women feel beautiful.
Yeah. And you did.
So anyways, cheers.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thanks for being on the show today.
Until next time.
Until next time. We'll do this again. So you guys definitely follow Courtney Defeo. She is a fun one. And especially if you're a mom, I think you'll get some great tips. And thanks for joining us again on the Something New show. If you enjoyed this episode, definitely make some comments below, like, share with your friends, and maybe we'll do a giveaway of your book.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Which one should we give away?
Let's do both. We can send In This House We Will Giggle to a parent, and if somebody's got tween girls, Treasured would be great for them. So I'll send that to you.
Treasured. Yes, because that's about...
Yeah, it's just a mother-daughter study about things girls struggle with, from friendship to identity to all the things, technology, faith. So yeah, a tween girl mom, Treasured is coming for you.
Okay, so if one of those two resources are something you want, definitely put your name below and we'll do a winner. All right, you guys, until next time, have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show, rate, review, and share with a friend. Also, follow The Something New Show on Instagram and Facebook. If you want a fuller experience, watch the show on YouTube to help you create a life worth celebrating.